I want to make sure you're all set for when we're ready to go in about 2 minutes.
Got it.
Thanks, Darren.
I would like to call to order today's meeting for the Nevada Department of Transportation for Monday, November 8th, 2021 to order. If I could ask the clerk to take the roll, please.
Governor Steve Sisolak.
Here.
Secretary of State Barbara Sagatsky.
She'll be joining us.
Okay. Controller Catherine Byrne.
Here.
Member Virginia Valentine.
Here.
Member Judson Kell.
Here.
And Member Stephen Esquadra.
Here.
Governor, you have the floor.
Thank you. This is the first time item number 2 set aside for public comment. Anyone wishing to address the board on any item on the agenda, please step forward, identify yourself for the record. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes. We will be taking public comment on number 9 when we get to number 9. So do we have any public comment in Las Vegas on any other agenda item?
No one signed in.
Yeah, well, we don't have to though, so no one's gonna. Anybody wishing to speak? Okay, do we have anybody in Carson City wishing to speak during public comment?
Governor, we have no one signed up to speak, and I don't see anybody standing up to speak.
Okay, we will close public comment, move on to item number 3, consideration of the approval of the minutes from October 11th, 2021. Do we have a motion?
I'll move to approve the minutes.
We have a motion for approval. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item number 4, director's report.
Good morning, members of the board. I will start, as I do every month, with safety. Next slide, please, EJ. Last month, I think I told you we were on track for the worst fatality numbers in a decade. And today I found out that we have exceeded the year-end totals for every year of the past 10 years. That happened today or yesterday. The numbers for through October were 315. We've lost 14 Nevadans in the last 7 days, which put us over the year-end totals. That is through October, 62 more people who lost their lives compared to the year before, so 24% increase. It is not acceptable, and we need to work together as drivers, as pedestrians, as bicyclists, as owners and operators and designers of the infrastructure system to figure out how we make this system safe so that everybody can get home every single night. One of the tactics that we are doing, as you know, a significant contributor to the fatalities has been speed. At NDOT this spring, we launched our speed management action plan. In collaboration with partner agencies, we are hoping to really work to figure out the appropriate engineering, enforcement, and educational countermeasures to address the speed that we're seeing on our network. And one other thing I wanted to talk about briefly when I talk about safety is our traffic incident management team This week is Crash Responder Safety Week, and Governor, thank you for recognizing that effort with a proclamation. And nationally, so far, we've lost 51 first responders struck by vehicle fatalities this year. And in Las Vegas, as you know, we lost a tow truck driver in March of this year as he worked to remove a vehicle from the side of 215. Our traffic incident responders are critical to ensuring that our roads get opened and we can reduce secondary crashes and get everybody where they want to go. This year, we've been able to reach 65% of Nevada's first responders trained in traffic incident management, and that's up from 60% last year. So we're doing the work. We're trying to get the people out there educated and informed to make sure that our first responders also get home safely when they're done with their shifts at the end of the evening or the day. Next slide, please. So a little bit of bad news, but I'm pivoting to some fantastic news. Late Friday, the U.S. House of Reps passed the $1.2 trillion Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. It's now on its way to President Biden's desk for signature. It is the largest long-term investment in our infrastructure in generations and includes over $2.5 billion in guaranteed formula dollars for Nevada. Specifically, our annual allocation from the Highway Trust Fund will jump from our current fiscal year number, so 2021 fiscal year of $397.5 million to $481 million, a 21% increase for fiscal year 2022. We are very excited, and it will grow steadily from there throughout the bill. And at the end of fiscal year 2026, we'll be receiving $520.7 million annually, a 31% increase over current funding. So we're very excited. The bill also includes several critical pieces of legislation that we are advocating for to give us more flexibility on where we spend our freight dollars as well as how we spend our safety dollars. So we're excited about that. And we look forward to getting back to you with some updates on how we're going to be spending that. There are some procedural processes we need to do to make sure that the programs and the projects are in the TIPs, which are the local transportation improvement plans, as well as our STIP, and make sure that we have all the approvals to spend the money, which I know won't be a hurdle at all, but we'll get back to you with some updates in January, if not before. And like I said, it's significant, it's important, but we face a $530 million annual shortfall. So this is just one piece, which leads me to our next slide, where we're talking about the sustainable funding for the department. And next slide, please, DJ. And tomorrow is our third or fourth meeting. We're meeting approximately monthly. I don't know what's going on with the slides. We'll keep going, though. And we'll be talking about our draft principles for how we're going to weigh funding mechanisms, pro and con. We'll be looking at, are they providing us the financial sustainability that we need? Are they flexible to meet the needs of the transportation system? Do they account for equity, both user equity and social equity, as well as how will they help us achieve our statewide climate goals? We're looking to ratify those tomorrow, as well as start to look at two transportation funding models the legislature directed us to. The one is Utah's new road usage charge that they have already implemented. We'll be looking at that, as well as a concept proposed by the Natural Resources Defense Council that applies different per mile rates based on a vehicle's mile per gallon. So we're looking forward to the work of that study. That committee and study, the working group, our report is due by the end of December of 2022 for the legislative action, but we're trying to get done sooner than that in case we need any legislative bills so we can make sure the legislators are aware of what we're looking at. Next slide, please. Governor, last month you asked us where we stood as a team on vaccination. As a team, we are at 62%, which I know falls short of the goal, but we're excited because it's increased by 10% since the testing policy went into place in August. So our team is getting, the number of vaccinations are increasing. As you can see on the slide on the left side of the table, that is our NDOT vaccination rate. And on the right side is the county vaccination rate. So in almost all cases, while we're lagging the goal, we are still leading the effort amongst the counties. There is one county, White Pine County, where we are lagging. Our team, where they are not vaccinated, are by and large complying with the testing policy. And those that aren't, we are working through progressive discipline with members. We're excited to see more of our team members continuing to get vaccinated, and we're working with them to achieve the goal so that we can all come back and get back to normal, whatever that new normal looks like. We're excited to get there with you. So next slide, please. As I do every month, I provide a report on where we are on a fiscal year, a federal fiscal year, on job years that are supported by our program. last month. It was 30 job years that were in the board packet that were approved and moved forward. This month, if everything is approved, it will be 4158 in this packet, and that does include the Tropicana project, which we didn't count for last month. And then one more slide. It's been a minute since we've recognized our awards that our team has received. And this, I should note, is not all of the awards since the last time we did the recognition, which I believe was in January, February of 2020. We couldn't cover those in a timely manner, so we said what has happened in basically the last month or two. And the first one, I'm very excited. Nova Simpson received the 2021 Leadership Catalyst Award from the International Conference on Ecology and Transportation on September 23rd. She is one of our team of biologists, and she works to not only minimize and mitigate the impacts of transportation projects on our system, but also help to ensure that wildlife habitats across Nevada can survive and prosper. Nova Simpson, a biology supervisor for Northern Nevada, has been instrumental in the preservation and reconnection of wildlife in the state with her collaboration with the Nevada Department of Wildlife. Together, their work has paved the way for a new executive order recently signed by the governor, creating the Nevada Habitat Conservation Framework. And she is recognized nationally for the work that she's helping us do with wildlife connectivity. That middle one, you might recognize them. That's me. I was honored, although I hate, it's kind of one of those you don't want, to be the recipient of the 2021 Transportation Professional of the Year at the Nevada Traffic Safety Summit. And that's because of the focus that we at NDOT are really focusing on how do we make our network safe. So it's an award I get, but it's one on behalf of the whole team working to flex and to work better with our partners to improve the network. And then last, our Project Neon team with our partner Kiewit won the Marvin Black Partnering Excellence Award from the Associated General Contractors. It's a national award, and it's one of the most highly coveted honors in the industry, paying tribute to contractors and owner partners for their achievements in partnering with stakeholders, team building, improved communication, and conflict resolution. So that concludes my director's report.
Do we have any questions on the director's report from any of the board members? Anyone up north? I've got a question.
No, Governor.
Going back to the vaccination rate, are these totally vaccinated or first shot?
They are totally vaccinated.
Okay, and the only way we're going to get out of this pandemic is through vaccinations. And some of these that are falling so short, the rurals of Winnemucca, Elko, Ely, what are we doing? What's our plan?
Right now, we're working with them to ensure that they're doing the testing. They're not happy with the testing, so that is pushing some of them over into getting vaccination. Those that are not complying with the testing, we are moving forward with progressive discipline. I don't know that that helps them get vaccinated if they leave our team, but we are working through that, and I'm hoping that the discipline will be the straw that hopefully gets us over.
What is the status on the progressive discipline?
You know, it's interesting. I have our Chief of Human Resources. I'm just looking at her right there. She's here today, and I believe we have over 100 team members that we are working through. A written reprimands is where we are. The next one is a short-term suspension. So we are working through that with our team members.
Okay, short-term suspension in terms of how long?
3 to 5 days.
And then what?
It'll be 15 to 30, and then it's termination.
And how long till we get to those levels?
So that was Allison Wall for the record, Chief of HR, and she and I were talking about this past weekend, and because of the requirements with the overall DHRM requirements, we're actually looking at the first terminations would likely be spring of next year if we get to that point. I'm hoping we won't get to that point. We've already lost, I think, on the order of 20 team members or more that have quit. And we're already at 20 to 30% vacancy rate. So we are continuing to work with these team members and make sure they understand the options that they have and how we are supporting them getting the vaccination. But for those that are steadfast against vaccination, we are we're working through the steps.
And I appreciate that, but I'm steadfast on, saving our population and community health. So is that the quickest we can go? Is by next spring?
So we also have our AG personnel representative here. So she's hearing you. I'm not asking her to answer that question. We are going to, we will look at that and see if there's any way we can expedite it. Our team members are very focused on making sure that we're following the proper process that have been laid out so that we can't skip steps. But if there's any way that we can compress them, we will certainly do that, Governor.
Okay, if I could get a white paper or one-page report on how long is, I know you're looking at Christina, but I want the report on how long it is between step 1, step 2, step 3, and who made these determinations. Okay,
Yes, we,
Yes, Governor, we will get that to you.
okay.
And I don't mean to laugh, because this is not something we're
It's
taking
not,
lightly.
it's not something
No,
funny. This
it's
is something
not.
that's costing lives every single day. When I open up the report of our dashboard of the number of people that have contracted the virus and have died. And it's not something I'm taking lightly.
We aren't either.
Okay, it's not an amusing situation. It's not something I want delayed. It's something I want expedited as much as possible, giving people their rights, but I want it handled. Okay, moving on to item number 5.
Item number 5 is a contract for approval. There is just one. The low and responsive bidder was Q&E Construction. It is for 2 miles of roadway project on US 50 on the east side of the city of Fallon.
Okay, do we have a motion on item number 5?
I'll motion for approval of item 5.
We have a motion for approval. Is there any discussion on that motion? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Motion passes. Item number 6, consideration of approval of agreements over $300,000.
Members of the board, we have 3 agreements for your consideration. The first is with Aspen Aerials. They are working on a 12-year standard factory rebuild of our bridge inspection vehicle. It's an amendment for $114,000 that takes us over the $300,000 threshold. The second one is for Nelson Nygaard Consulting Associates. It's for $499,000, and this will be to help us conduct our first ever statewide transit plan to really help us understand how we can better serve our rural transit community. And the third agreement for your consideration is an on-call agreement for civil engineering design for our department's betterment projects. The 3 consultants that will share the $1.5 million total value agreement are Atkins North America, Borox Engineers, and Cummins Horns and Associates.
Okay, I'm going to take all 3 of these together. Do we have any discussion on any of the 3 items under item number 6 from the board members? Anybody up north?
No, Governor.
Do I have a motion on item number 6?
Motion to approve item number 6.
We have a motion for approval on item number 6. Is there any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Do we have Secretary Sagaski with us yet? Okay, continuing along then. Item number 7, contracts, agreements, and settlements.
I'm sorry, I was texting. That item is for information only, Governor.
Do you want to make any comments about it, or?
If there's questions, we're happy to answer
Okay.
on that.
Do we have any questions on item number 7? Okay, moving on. Item number 8, resolution of relinquishment of portions of State Route 147 East Lake Boulevard in the city of North Las Vegas.
Governor, we would like to hold this item until December.
Okay, we're going to hold item number 8. I had some questions on item number 8, so regarding the cash payment to North Las Vegas. Item number 9, review and ratify the selection of Kiewit Infrastructure West as the design builder for I-15 Tropicana Interchange project, and approve the design build for the I-15 Tropicana Interchange project between NevadaDOT and Kiewit Infrastructure West Company.
Governor, before we get started with the discussion, I would like to disclose that my employer, Nevada Resort Association Stations, is a member of my board of directors. NDOT routinely involves stakeholders from several of the resort corridor NRA members. Generally, I'm not involved at all in those conversations, and well, I feel like I could act on this without a conflict. I think out of a bunch of self-cautions, I'm going to abstain. So, thank you.
Okay. We have a notice of abstention from Director Valentine. Do we have any other statements to make before we take the presentation on 9? Okay. Go ahead.
You'll do the presentation first. Nick, you can go ahead and get started.
Okay. While we're loading the presentation here. Good morning, Governor, board members. For the record, Nick Johnson, NDOT Project Management. This morning, I'm going to give you guys a brief update on our collaborations and meetings with station casinos here over the past month, and then we can jump to the agenda item and the 2 potential actions to review and ratify Kiewit Infrastructure West as our design builder and approve the design build agreement. Okay, to get started here, last month, the board asked us to spend that, between October and the November board to meet with stations, casinos, and see if we can work together to come up with solutions or resolutions to some of the concerns they identified in September and the October board. Kiewit's team and the NDOT team, we met with stations, casinos a total of 8 times as a group working together. The Kiewit team came in and took the traffic numbers that station casinos provided, as well as the NDOT base model, and developed independent traffic models for different design and scenarios so that we can look at it and review it as a group. This was done in a very transparent and collaborative process with station casinos. We brought in the station casino reps and their engineers at the table while we were developing these so that we can agree upon the inputs and the traffic and all the data so that we had some good models to look at and work from. As a result, and after reviewing those models, a couple things came out of them that we were able to agree upon as a group. First off, station casinos and NDOT both agreed, to the department's original assessment that a signal at Dean Martin and Tropicana would be detrimental to the traffic in the area, creating long queues and backups and congestion, so on and so forth. So we agreed not to include that as the original plan is. However, going through the models and reviewing them together, the models demonstrated that there's a need to better accommodate the future local traffic circulation there on the west side and the future local traffic movements. So as such, we agreed with station casinos to include some improvements that would better the local traffic circulation there on the west side into the design build process, continue to work with them and include those in construction. Now, with that being said, there's some caveats that we all understand, acknowledge that we'd have to work through some of the right-of-way and utility processes and potential approvals from our local and federal partnering agencies. But assuming that we can do all that, we will include those improvements into our project and get them constructed. So all in all, I think the last month has been a very productive environment. It's been collaborative, and we've been able to work together, and we want to continue building on that momentum with station casinos as we move into the design build project. So I'm going to switch gears here and jump back to the 2 potential actions here today. And with this slide more specifically, just recapping some of the strengths of Kiewit Infrastructure West's proposal. As I mentioned last month, Kiewit will complete the project 3 months faster than was originally anticipated in the 4th quarter of 2024. But more significantly, reducing 640 days worth of lane closures compared to the allowable closures in the RFP. And I talked a little bit last month that when you look at the user costs for the motorists who are going to be traveling through this work zone, it provides approximately $140 million worth of value back to our traveling public during construction. And another real key component to and strength of Kiewit's proposals is their commitment for proactive stakeholder engagement throughout the construction of the project. And this includes, having a task force specific to our businesses and our stakeholders, meeting with them on a regular basis, whether it be weekly or biweekly or monthly, with the goal that there's no surprises and that we can work together with them for, to make modifications to help support the circulation and access and keep those businesses going during construction. And similar to last month, just the project as a whole and the benefits that this project brings to our community in Southern Nevada. Doing this project will improve the safety, the travel time, reliability, and help motorists get through the Tropicana interchange safely and more efficiently. Through our benefit cost analysis we conducted, this project's anticipated to bring, $560 million of overall value or benefit, I should say, to the traveling public. As Director Swallow mentioned earlier, this project will create approximately 3,900 job years. As a result of it, it supports the growth and development of our resort corridor and surrounding area. And we also have an executed PLA specific for this project, for which all the unions have signed, and it's ready to go. The last slide here for today, there's two specific actions for consideration. One, to ratify the selection of Kiewit Infrastructure West as our design build contractor for the I-15 Tropicana interchange project. And two, to approve the design build contract for a lump sum amount of approximately $305 million. Governor, board members, that concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Do we have any questions from any board member on the presentation? Anybody in Carson City?
Do we see this as being two separate motions or roll it in one?
You can do it as one.
We can do it in one. Would you prefer to do it separately, or?
You know, maybe we go to public comment. I'm assuming there's public comment, right?
Yeah, there is some comment. Yeah, okay. Do we have a response from stations? Because I know they were there. Now I'm going to have public comment. I'm going to extend it to 5 minutes per person because I know this is a sensitive item.
Governor, morning board members. First of all, I'd like to thank all of you for your leadership in allowing us to take 30 days and really do a substantially detailed review of all of this. I think Nick summarized quite well the progress that we made over the month, so I don't want to repeat myself there. We do concur with everything that was presented. Just to actually reiterate some points, we do feel that a work task force that would continue to look at these improvements over time as we go through the design build process is an important factor. We also lend our support to the project with the respectful caveat that these 8 improvements that we identified during the process be seriously looked at and considered to be part of the design build process going forward. And then lastly, we would respectfully request that the board be given updates through the process about these 8 improvements and the disposition of those improvements as they go forward. All of that said, if we can accomplish that, we're in full support of the project.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Director Swallow, I want to make sure that we do get updates on this project as we move forward, but I would also like this agreement codified so that we don't have any questions 2 years from now or 3 years from now as to what was meant and what was said and what was written, so that both sides have something that they can point to that says, look, this is what we talked about, this is what we spoke about. So if you get it doesn't need to be a formal legal document, just an understanding or a memo or what have you.
Yeah.
You can do
We'll
that.
definitely get that. I don't know that I'm allowed to do anything without legal, but nor do I think stations will, but we'll get something written.
Well, I'm not saying you shouldn't have legal, but I don't need this written up that it's going to take 90 days for you to get it done.
We'll get something written up.
Okay.
Well, I have a question.
Please.
You're referencing 8 items. Are they, NDOT knows of the 8 items and the team's working on them?
And pull them up, but they were the items that were shown last month, where we highlighted 2 areas of concern. And then as we did the modeling and we looked at this as a group, we confirmed that those areas are areas of opportunity for improvement. And as Nick said, that may require some right-of-way easements on our side.
Okay.
It may require additional investigation, but those items, basically everything we've asked for, spare the signalized intersection at Dean Martin and Tropicana.
Okay.
Nick, do you have those 8 items? You can pull them up.
Yes, if we go back, if you can bring up the presentation, they were on the first slide as a graphic. So I'm gonna go. So here they are. And just to describe some of these here, as Mr. Krieger mentioned, minus the intersection at Dean Martin and Tropicana, if you see some of that, I guess if it's a purple or pink area there with some additional lane along Tropicana down to Valley View, and that also includes widening that intersection there at Polaris. And then as we move, to the right and we go up towards Dean Martin, there's a signal there at the entrance of In and Out. If you keep going up, DJ, right there. And so right where that signal, there's a signal there, as well as some turning movements for that whole intersection for In and Out, as well as the Station Casinos property. And then if we move a little bit north, we need where that blue area is, evaluating some of that right turn connection from southbound Dean Martin to the Dean Martin Connector Road. And then just to the right and below, signal there, as well as increasing the turn pocket capacity on that northbound Dean Martin connector. And Scott, is there anything that I missed in describing some of those?
I think probably in summary, in the absence of a four-way, we've gone in and looked at the volumes and improvements to the two additional four-way intersections. The other piece is we'd like to eventually widen the road here to continue to let that flow further into the valley. That's our land, we're willing to concede that land, but we're hoping that the undergrounds can align with that future project, which is a simple task. It'll probably take some of our land as an easement, but that way we don't have undergrounds that are disconnected.
Okay. Does that answer?
Yeah.
Question?
Yeah.
If I could have this portion of the meeting, this item transcribed more thoroughly than what you normally do for minutes and attach it to this agreement, I would appreciate that.
Okay.
The lawyers can look at it, but I want it back. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Mr. Wellman, I know you wanted to speak. Do we have anyone else wishing to speak besides Mr. Wellman?
Good morning, Board
Morning,
members. Bill Wellman. I want to say first, representing Nevada Economic Development Coalition. So today, I spoke at the last 3 meetings, I think, on this topic and this project. And today, the director had again reported a $530 million shortfall, annual shortfall that the department has. And that's critical. Because as we could talk about transparency, and we heard that word several times today, and we've heard it over the time, the engineer's estimate for this project, published on November 9th of 2020, almost 1 year ago today, or tomorrow, was $187 million. I think that was in good faith and reasonable and responsible at the time. NDOT decided to add some scope of work to it, and at the same time, knew of and considered inflationary items of work or materials. And on April 2nd of 2021, 7 months ago, adjusted that engineer's estimate to $224 million. Those are published. I have copies of them here if you'd like them. After the receipt of the proposals and frankly seeing three numbers, 228, 264, and 305, that engineer's estimate was redone, apparently, without transparency. Now is some $285 million. An adjustment of $61 million without a basis other than inflation, which was already considered in the first one, and yet numbers that also show that it's not necessarily needed with another proposal to $260 million, $264 million, and then clearly one at 228 that was disqualified. So that adjustment is 27%, and we're not seeing inflationary numbers like that, and you're not seeing that on your bid build projects as the one reported today. But ironically, it moved it to 7% from the 305, which ironically was the standard that NDOT had for many, many, many years, that they would never award a project over 7% of the engineer's estimate. Now, with that said, let's go into scope savings a little bit. I touched on the last meeting briefly. 3 contractors submitted 65 ATCs, alternative technical concepts, of which Kiewit included 9 of them, very appropriately. It's a good design. There's no question about it. ATC number 1 was to reuse an on-ramp, not replace it, reuse it. ATC number 3 was utilize the existing Corps of Engineers drainage facility, which was to be replaced, but now we're going to reuse it. ATC number 4, preserving the existing flyover, something you heard me talk about in the first meeting 3 meetings ago. They had the same concept. Good plan. ATC number 5, preserving the Tropicana outfall channel. It's reasonable and responsible. And ATC number 6, using the abutments on the bridge structure at Tropicana, Frank Sinatra. All of them very worthy of ATCs and being accepted. The value of those in your packet is $26.15 million. If those savings are demonstrated in the 305, wow, because a lot of these things are not in some of the other proposal numbers that were there. I keep hearing about this federal infra grant and the opportunity that we would lose it. In this day and age, and with what just took place Friday night in DC, I doubt very seriously. We're not asking for this project to be canceled, talking about setting aside the award of this project under the design build process. As long as the project's moving forward, you're not at risk of losing this grant. And frankly, if you were, you didn't need the $50 million if you were awarded to the one of the other proposals that was accepted. Why would you spend an extra $80 million to try to save 50? That's not good business practice in any way, shape, or form. Lane closures, 640 were calculated by Mr. Johnson. I've actually got the numbers. I thought they were more than that. But you're only comparing it to what NDOT's numbers were, not the other proposers. Other proposers have that many, or near that many. And you would have those kind of savings if you have less scope. You're doing less improvements. Schedule. This one's kind of critical. The reason for that is because this thing could be set aside. It could be redone as a bid build project and saving some $80+ million. And it's been demonstrated. Las Vegas Boulevard from Tropicana to the Beltway right now is under construction. I checked this morning. The concurrent completion schedule is December of 2020, or 2022, excuse me, next year, the end of next year. Clark County Public Works has publicized Tropicana, or excuse me, Las Vegas Boulevard from Tropicana to Flamingo. Scheduled to bid it later this month. Will likely get moved into December, possibly into January. But if it did bid in December, award would be in February, likely construction starting in May of 2022. At the same time, this particular project in your packet would schedule to move forward. These are conflicting projects. For an 18-month completion at the end of January of 2024. 18 months of continued competition between these two particular things. That's pretty significant. In that, in 2013, September 20th to be exact, the County Commission, when they approved fuel revenue indexing, very specifically mandated that good governance, good stewardship, and transparency, and do not work on parallel roads and intersections to minimize the impacts to the public. And we worked hard over the last many years to try to do that. I'm not putting blame on who should have talked to who in any of this, but this is reality right at the moment. Thus, there is an opportunity to save tens of millions of dollars, and yet have this project slide slightly because the need for it is not as critical as we thought it was with Allegiant Stadium in the early stages. But that we do support the project, and we don't think it's best value under the circumstances today. And with good stewardship, we could find a way to get this done, possibly a year later without conflict, and saving tens of millions of dollars. Now, that said, in my comments as NEDCO, now I got to put on my hat as Bill Longman representing.
Okay, Mr. Woman, I'm going to have to, I extended the public comment from 3 minutes to 5 minutes, and you're 2 minutes over the 5 minutes.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I don't know why they took down the clock.
Give me 10, give me 15 seconds.
Okay, I'll give you 15 seconds.
Now, Las Vegas paving, the reason of disqualification per NDOT was because of our design, knowing that the circulation issues at Dean Martin and Tropicana were challenged. With the negotiations with station casinos, which is rightly so, and could have been done with any other contractor under the premise of this, the changes that were made are of issue because we in ourselves attempted to make what is now being required part of our original proposal. And I didn't think that was probably a bit unfair. With that, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Do we have any questions from board members on this one? Anyone up north have a question? Do we have any further public comment in Las Vegas? Do we have any public comment in Carson City?
I'm not seeing anyone stand up, Governor.
Okay, well, we've heard this item for 3 or 4 meetings now. Do we have a motion on the item?
The motion is to ratify the selection and approve the agreement.
Okay, but you can't make the motion.
Oh,
So,
sorry. Right.
I apologize, but I need a board member to make a motion.
No, yeah, you're right. I just wanted to make sure that's what we were seeking. If
Well, I understand, I don't know what the board is,
Yeah.
where the board is at, so. Do I have a board member that wishes to make a motion?
I'll make a motion, Governor. This is Board Member Squaga for the recommendation to ratify the selection of Kiewit Infrastructure as the design builder for the Tropicana Interchange project, as well as approve the design build agreement for I-15 Tropicana Interchange project between NDOT and Kiewit.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Is there any discussion on the motion? Could I ask for a roll call vote on this one, please?
yes, Governor.
Yes. Do I start with Governor Steve Sisolak,
Aye.
Secretary of State Barbara Sagatsky,
She's muted. She's on the phone. Barbara?
I'm a yes.
Controller Catherine Byrne,
Yes.
Member Virginia Valentine,
Abstain.
Member Judson Calhoun,
Yes.
Member Stephen Squaga.
Yes.
Motion passes. Okay, that completes item number 9. Moving on to item number 10, public comment. This is the second time set aside for public comment. Anyone wishing to address the board on any item, please step forward, identify yourself for the record, and comments will be limited to 3 minutes.
Good morning, Governor, members of the board, Director Swallow, Chris Koenig with Kiewit for the record. It's been an interesting couple of months. We are excited to be here at this point, and I want to thank NDOT for entrusting us with this very important project. I was looking back at the calendar. We first met over 2 years ago. Started meeting with NDOT and CA Group to understand this project nearly a year before the RFP came out. So we are confident that we understand this project, and we're excited to get ready. Thank you for Director Swallow mentioning our National Partnering Award on Project Neon. Among other goals on this project, it will be a high goal to win that National Partnering Award again. That award does not go to projects that aren't exemplary, just perfectly executed. And the only way we're going to do that is with great partnerships. And so thank you to stations for engaging over the last 30 days in a very meaningful way. We look forward to your partnership for the next couple of years. We've met with MGM, the county, and other stakeholders already. So we're off to a great start on our goal to win this partnering award again. We've been diligently working for the last couple of months to keep this project on schedule. And I'm proud that we've worked with NDOT staff and are able to keep the project on the original schedule. So again, thank you very much for the opportunity. You're in good hands, and we'll be glad to be reporting back in as time goes on. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And when you come up with the minutes that are codified in the agreement, could you make sure that MGM is included in that? Because I know they were part of the discussion as it relates to disruption in that corridor there that Director Valentine has numerous members that are a part of that corridor there that want to make sure that we don't disrupt that any more than is necessary. So if we could get that to everybody involved. If anybody else in Las Vegas for public comment? Do I have anybody in Carson City for public comment? So that's a no?
Correct.
Okay, seeing, hearing no one, we don't have an executive session, so we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.